Alrighty, hello writers, happy Monday. Welcome Chief Success Officer Ted Capshaw. How are you doing, Ted?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, I'm good. So it's funny, I don't know if we've even discussed this before. Very often, whenever we ask people that hire writers or work with writers, what is the best trait or thing that you like to see in a writer? So few times, or if ever, does the first thing that comes out of their mouth have anything to do with skill. But one of the very common threads is always curiosity. Like, I want them to be curious. And I know, Ted, you also have a belief in that you should be asking questions and asking better questions. So how does that impact our writers on like the day-to-day? On what way does asking better questions impact our writers?
Well, there's probably layers to this one. I mean, questions are everything. The human being or the business person that masters the art of asking better questions, it just goes a very long way. It just does. And so let's just use specific examples about asking questions. In recent, or not recent, but in past episodes, we've talked about the importance of building relationships with people, right? And as a writer, one of the kind of responses that we get when we're trying out to go out to try to get clients is we start selling ourselves. And that response prohibits us from getting curious and asking the right questions of a potential client.
Yeah.
Which gets in the way of us building a relationship, which gets us up in the way of getting us to really understand what the need is and all the rest of that. We're so like in our heads, we have to show that we're good. We have to show them that we're capable of doing things versus slowing down and asking questions. And that's when you slow down and ask questions, there's all kinds of things that happen. Yes, the relationships get her. Yes, you uncover needs that the average person does not. And I said it openly there. The average person doesn't ask great questions. Yeah. You know, I say this in my line of work, I say it a dozen times a week. Like, I think everybody's just accepting answers. They just accept surface level answers and they don't dig. And so I'm not going to give it. There is no magic question. Yeah. In my opinion, I can't just throw out, hey, ask these questions. What I can say is follow-up questions, right, in general, would be the most important thing that I would articulate today that I think will start moving the chains on you learning how to ask better questions. And here's what I mean. You talk to somebody and they tell you they're feeling good. What's the average person do?
Yeah, cool. You just carry on. You don't. Cool.
And you go on to the next part of the conversation. Like I've used this one dozens and dozens of times in the past 3 years because it's been a heavy 3 years for many, many people on personal and professional levels. And I don't accept good. I mean, I do on a day-to-day and things are, moving at a quick pace, but follow-up question for me was, hey, what's good? Just pause. Hey, what's good? This is what I mean. There's no magic bullet question versus just pausing, not accepting that answer and just saying, well, what's good? Two things are going to happen. They're either going to tell you, hey, what's good? And you can relish in that. You've learned something about them. You can celebrate what's good. You feel a connection or whatever. Or
you shifted the mood.
Or, and I'm going to speak frankly here, or you just called their BS. They're not actually good. And what you just did was create space for you to tell them what's not good. Because they're going to go, well, actually, things aren't so great. And then all of a sudden, the conversation shifts to something different. That's one example. Another example, you call a potential client or whatever, and they tell you, we just want to make more money. And we think our website being rewritten by you is going to help us get there. Well, just pause. The average person is just going to accept that answer and go, cool. I got an opportunity here. They think if I rewrite their website, well, let's go deep. Well, what kind of money is that? When you say you want to make more money, what kind of money are you thinking about? Or what's that mean? And this is a true scenario. I was on with a potential client last week. Their business is growing exponentially. And I said, well, what's the end game here? The guy said 100 million. I said, wow. Okay, well, why 100 million? Where'd you pull that out of? Like, that conversation, that question carried the next 30 to 40 minutes of the conversation. That pause, instead of me just saying, oh, 100 million, cool. All right, well, let's see if I can help you get you there. I just paused. And then I asked that question, and then all of a sudden the conversation completely shifted to depths of need, depths of what really the conversations needed to be, et cetera, et cetera. And so I just want to give a couple examples of what I mean by follow-up questions, because yes, there's great questions to ask, right? However, follow-up questions, or learning how to pause and ask the follow-up questions, I think is a magic bullet.
I love that as well, because I think so often when you're in a position of wanting to get clients, it's very easy to, when you're having conversations and reach outs and everything, of like, you're in the self mode, right? Like, I don't want to say what is in it for me, but how can I get my desired outcome out of this conversation, versus flipping it and just caring about the other person and caring about their humanity. Because I would also implore you to think that I'm sure a lot of business owners, when they're in the business realm of their day-to-day, very few people are caring about their humanity, like how they are doing, not even just their business, right? And I think that flipping all of that will completely change your interactions, your level of depth with people, and just, it's got to feel good too, to have, if that is like the relationship that you have. And also, Ted, on top of that, you might really uncover that this company is not for you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if they're relying on you to change their website and that's going to result in $100 million, it would be like a red flag.
Yeah.
And it's things that you can uncover and discover before you get too far in to where this doesn't match with me, this doesn't match with my morality or my goals or my values, like that, or just getting, like, making somebody feel good because you cared enough to ask them the questions of how they are doing today. I think it would go a very long way. And if anybody doesn't know how to do this, I don't know if I've mentioned it on one of these before, go to a Trader Joe's. Those people at the checkout counter are the absolute best conversation drivers I've ever met. Like, I don't know if it's a rule there or if it's just because it makes them happier to do their
party in their training.
Right. Like they never just like pack the groceries with like no conversation, that awkward, like they always make conversation, and it's always different or inventive. And it's never ever, how are you? It's never that. It's like, what you got going on today? Or is there anything interesting that you did yesterday? Or how, like it's very different. So if you need any training in how to start conversation, hit up your local Trader Joe's, and then you can hit me up because I have lots of recommendations. But no, I think it enriches human experience, goes beyond business, as a lot of these lessons do.
It is. Business is human experience.
There we go. I always forget. I love that when you say that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I zeroed in on the word care, right? Questions are a sign of care. Yes. And we're not, I actually think in the past 3 years, I don't want to go on a soapbox, but I think we've lost the art. I think we've even, like, we're fearful in some instances to ask the deeper level questions because we don't want to open up Pandora's box. Do we want to spend time talking about that stuff or asking about true need or wants or desires versus just, hey, let's get down to it, right? And not understanding the true business implications of getting layers deeper by asking great questions. Even if you're just talking about, if you want to be practical and you're saying, I'm not an emotional person, we're not talking about emotion here necessarily. We're talking about, like, go back to what I said in the beginning. You could position your conversation with somebody as you're going to sell yourself, or you could position the conversation as you're going to find out where you're going to add more value by asking questions. That's business, right? That's not. So, and the care piece, people want to do work with people that care.
Yeah.
It's very simple. Like, how many times has somebody come to your house and tried to sell you something and they just seem like a robot? You're like, get out my property. When you were talking, I was actually thinking about a recent experience my wife had. She went out to lunch with a friend and came home and was like, it's unbelievable. She didn't ask one question about the boys.
Yep.
Think about that. Not just the, hey, how are the boys doing? And she left with somebody that she cared about feeling a little dismayed because there was no level of care through a question.
We
So
get so
anyway,
caught
I
up in
don't want to get
ourselves.
preachy on it. Yeah, I don't want to
No,
get preachy
I like
on it.
it.
So I guess the theme for today, frame it up as homework or whatever, is, go out there this week and start asking follow-up questions.
Mhm.
And there is no specific question. There's just a really intentional listening to what somebody's saying, and then ask a question around it, right? If they say X, ask them to clarify. Hey, I'm not really sure what exactly that you mean. Could you explain it a little bit more? There's usually always something behind an answer.
And can I say, piggybacking off of that, sometimes it doesn't even need to be a brand new conversation. How often do we think about something and we don't message the person or send something or actually ask, like you think, I wonder how they're doing, or I wonder how this went, but we don't actually do the reach out part of that. So just
I like it.
follow through on when you're thinking about those things. I think it makes a world of difference. Okay. So next week, we're going to dive into freedom, which I'm very excited to talk to Ted about, and because it's what AWAI is pretty much built on. So we will see everybody then. Thank you, guys. Bye.
See you.